Oh, hey, didn't see you there.
Reynad is one of the most impactful people when it comes to Hearthstone. But let's see how good he is at rating newer cards. What was the last expansion that you played?
Last expansion I played was Kobolds, I think. Yeah, the one with the skull for 5 mana. Drekthar. This costs more than every minion in your deck. Summon 2 of them. Yeah, it seems pretty broken in Zoo. Really anything that can cast it. Yeah, it seems nutty. I don't know, 10 out of 10, I guess. But then again, like every creature has like +2/+2 compared to what I'm used to. So who the fuck knows?
You said 10 out of 10. Your analysis was exactly correct. This is arguably the strongest card in the game right now. You probably can understand this is like a 4-mana 12/12, which is still pretty great. All right, good to see you still got it.
Whirlpool. Destroy all minions and all copies of them wherever they are. That's interesting. I mean, anything that destroys stuff from decks, people lose their shit over. So they tend to like over-evaluate it. It'd be situational. It's like if it disrupts a common combo deck that's good in the meta, then this could be strong. If there's not a lot of death rattles, then this could be strong. In some metas I've played, like in Goblins versus Gnomes, this would be unplayable. It's not completely unplayable. I don't know, destroying it. I mean, I've seen Twisting Nether, I've played as like a 1-of before. It was pretty bad. They removed all the burn from the game, right? The game used to just be like, get them to 15 and then burn them. Average-ish, I guess, is where I'd rank it.
To answer your first question, they actually added a lot of lethality back into the game. The game is arguably the fastest it's ever been.
So this is unplayable.
Yeah, I was gonna say this might change your opinion. So yeah, this is unplayable. Basically, the new design philosophy is that they don't want fatigue decks to really matter. Like attrition is not an archetype currently in the game. Yeah, but you were right, unplayable. It hasn't seen any play. It's only been in for this expansion. Maybe at some point, if the meta ever slows down, it's gonna be good enough.
Yeah, I bet people lost their shit when it was spoiled, though. They love removing stuff from decks. It's just it's so useless, but they love doing it. Yeah. Nobody cared that Patches was a 1/1 for 0 cards. No, the fact that he thinned your deck was the reason he was good, according to Reddit. Card game players always do that. It's so funny. Every game. Soul Mirror. Summon copies of enemy minions they attack. Of all the copies.
As long as you have board space.
I'm pretty sure it's broken. Yeah, pretty good. I don't know. I would run it.
When Control Priest was really, really good, this card was probably one of the best cards in the deck and just win you a game on its own. It's a very, very powerful card.
It's not too different then from what the game used to be. I mean, some of the obviously strong cards are still obviously strong. Overgrowth. These effects are so meta situational too. Like Nourish was unplayable for years and then they printed Ultimate Infestation and suddenly it was like nutty. I don't know, with a card like this and Wild Growth got nerfed.
Wild Growth is still 3 mana at this point.
Used to be 2. I don't know, I can't tell if this is good. It's so conditional. It depends on like if there's expensive shit. I don't know. I'd say on average bad. I would probably not put this in most
decks. Interesting.
Unless there's a 2 mana Wild Growth or like Innervate. But that's just the metas I've played, you know? In Ultimate Infestation meta, I'd play 2 of these.
This card when it first came out was when the expansion when Demon Hunter came out. And you're right, it was unplayable. There wasn't enough time for you to do 4 mana, do nothing. After that expansion though, this card saw a ton of play in almost every single mid-range to slower druid deck. Also at this time, I think Nourish was still 6 mana when they released it. Wild Growth was too slow at 3 mana.
Makes sense. Yeah, so it's been both good and bad. Yeah, it's just conditional. Winged Guardian, Taunt, Reborn it comes back with 1 health. Seems pretty nuts. Yeah, I'd run 2 of it. Yeah, I mean, if stuff like this is in the game, then yeah, the ramp spell looks way better.
Saw it play for a little bit. This card was released just before Demon Hunter, so it saw it play in that really small pocket meta. Demon Hunter was released, this card was unplayable.
Really? It's bad against Demon Hunter.
Day 1, they nerfed Demon Hunter. They hotfixed it in 24 hours because the deck was just absolutely ridiculous.
It sounds like a Blizzard balanced team. Yeah, I don't know. Well, at least they changed stuff now. Yeah, it used to be that they would launch stuff that was that broken and then they would just like ignore it for a year and a half.
They do quite frequent patch updates now. I would say it's at least once a month.
I'm surprised this isn't just nutty. I mean, this would have been the best like 7 mana play in most of the formats I played. We used to play Ancient of War. Altruist, the Outcast. Left or rightmost card in your hand, deal 1 damage to all enemies. I don't think I would put this into most decks. It doesn't have enough health. If it was like a 4/4, then it'd be maybe too good. But yeah, 4/2, I think it's pretty mediocre, I would say. Yeah.
This card, it's definitely better than just average. It could win you a game on the spot.
So people always ran it. They always put it in the deck.
For the most part, again, like you probably remember from Hearthstone, you don't see like the cards when they're bad, right? You only see them when they're good. But the effect was very powerful. This card was 3 mana and they decided to nerf it for 4 mana and it was still played.
Yeah, 3 mana, it's nuts.
Demon Hunter has a lot of really, really good cheap spells and there was a way to discount your cards to 0 mana.
Oh, I didn't know there's 0 cost stuff. Yeah, it's really good in the mirror too, I guess, if they all have little guys. Then Cornelius Rome at the start and end of each player's turn, draw a card. That's a cool card. I wish they made something like this in classic or like older formats. Would have been interesting. Again, it's like meta dependent. I don't know. I've like half the metas I played, this is unplayable because it's too slow. You just die. And then like in classic, this would have been in every deck. Man, so many of these like conditional. That's such a non-committal answer.
Okay, I would say that your answer is probably about just depends on the metagame, almost like a tech card, right? This card, when it was released, or I guess showcased, everyone thought that, like, even including me, like I thought this was going to be the best card of the set by far. This is probably like the best neutral draw we've ever seen, but it turned out that this card is virtually unplayable. Even in slower metagames, this card wasn't played. This card saw virtually 0 play, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that's surprising. It does seem stronger than that. Drawing cards is so weird in Hearthstone compared to other games, you know? Like in Magic, like there's always value in it because literally in order to get mana crystals, you need more cards. But in Hearthstone, you get the mana guaranteed. So it's like you get diminishing returns on optionality. So it's like drawing cards really isn't that good in Hearthstone in some decks and some metas. It just doesn't matter as much. 3 damage to your hero, return 2 friendly. Seems pretty good. I'd play 2 of it and zoo and stuff. I think I like it, but you'd have to be a pretty low curve deck to want the effect. I get, that's interesting. I guess you could be like a priest deck that drops like only medium or big stuff, and then you play this and you get, yeah, I could see this being played in something like zoo, or maybe there's some low curve priest deck with a bunch of dudes. I don't know. We used to play Ancient Watcher decks with priest that were okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'd play it. It's a draw 2 for 0. Yeah, I'd run it.
Yeah, this card was actually really good. It was much better in Warlock than it was Priest, but Priest did have its time. In Warlock, it was very good. And they released a quest line in United Stormwind that was about once you complete it, the cards that damage you now damage your opponent. And the way that you completed that quest line is by damaging yourself. So this was like the perfect card to put in there.
Oh, that makes sense. Lightning Bloom. Gain 2 mana crystals this turn only. Overload 2. Man, these are like the 2 effects that took the longest to evaluate. Overload is really hard to evaluate, and so is like the value of ramp. Yeah, inevitably, there's archetypes that want 2 of this. Most of them, most of the shaman decks, most of the druid decks have some use for this thing. So I would say, yeah, this card's pretty high tier and gets played a bunch. You know, I used to play like a lot of unbound elemental decks and stuff. I've played some hot garbage overload in my life. So this looks a lot better than that. But yeah, no, I'd say it's a pretty good card.
You probably remember Innervate back in the day when it was 2 mana crystals. Turned out still gaining 2 mana crystals is very powerful. The power creep that we've gotten, a lot of the cards you can ramp up to are very powerful.
And it's good with overgrowth too. With your smite, very good. Every card with charge that has ever been printed sees play. It's just like how Hearthstone's made. The cards that burn at the end are just too good. So yeah, this card's good.
Yeah, it's a good card. Do you think this card's better than Leroy?
In some decks, not in most.
But this particular card does have the synergy with pirates. So any pirate that you do end up summoning immediately gets charged.
Couple pirate decks. It gives other pirates charge.
Yeah.
Oh, are there any good ones?
There are some good ones, yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised they made it. I thought they were going to stop making cards with charge.
They really changed their design philosophy. If you go look at just the expansion for United and Stormwind, you're probably like, wow, not even the same game anymore.
How's that working out for them?
Yeah, it's pretty fun, man, I swear.
Dark Bishop Benedictus. I remember some Benedictus in some set I played. He swapped decks. Yeah, that card, we actually played that in tournaments sometimes. It was like the next level way to win certain matchups. If the spells in your deck are all, so spells have types now. If the spells in your deck are all shadow, enter shadow form. Interesting.
Do you remember what shadow form is?
Yeah.
The thing that make.
Like, it just depends on like whether the shadow spells are playable or not. I'm guessing if they went through the trouble of making it, and it's a legendary, so they want people to craft it and they want it to soak up dust. So my guess is it is playable. They would have made the shadow spells playable.
Do you think this goes into a control or to an aggro deck?
Way better in aggro when you care about going face. In a control deck, it's cool too. I mean, you can, I don't know, it fits in all of them, honestly.
This card did see play in the expansion that came out. That expansion was extremely polarizing. You either played an aggressive deck or you kind of just died to whatever combo deck there was. Combo decks were the most prominent archetype in the format. This card was very good because you just play an aggro deck, you kill them as fast as possible, and like you said, 2 damage in an aggressive deck is pretty good.
Yeah, you get Hunter hero power. Finley the Sea Guide. Ooh, same stats. Swap your hand with the bottom of your deck. This card seems seems pretty nuts. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. So you start and end with the same number of cards?
Yes, well, -1 because you're playing Finley.
Yeah, I think it's very good.
Turns out just getting like a brand new hand when your hand kind of sucks is pretty decent. And because it's so flexible at 1 mana, it's just easy to put into a deck.
I don't think there's ever been a 1 mana 1/3 that's been bad. Battlecry, draw minion, give minions in your hand 1/1. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, this card seems very good. It's so hard for me to tell on like creature stats because like for all I know, everything is just like +1/+1 from what it used to be. But like, yeah, and this would have seen a 2 of play in like every paladin deck and most of the metas I've played. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty good.
But this card sees 2 ofs in every paladin deck. Not necessarily because the hand buff, but drawing a minion in paladin, and paladin doesn't really have great draw.
Secret Passage. Replace your hand with 4 cards from your deck. Swap back next turn. So I've played a lot of rogue decks where this would be beyond broken. Like all the low curve ones. This is like the last card in my hand. It's draw 4, right?
Yes. You don't actually draw the cards. It just like puts the cards in your hand. And any card that you generate in your hand afterwards comes with you back to your original hand.
Yeah, that seems pretty good. I would imagine it's a really high tier card. Yeah.
When this card was released, it was actually 5 cards. This card saw play in every single rogue deck since its release. And I think rogue right now really misses it because it just rotated. This might be the most disgusting card I think they've ever released.
The cards that I think are the most broken ever are just like so different from what everyone else claims, you know? It's like the best card that's ever been released in Hearthstone, not close, is Blood Imp, the original Blood Imp. And it was just a 1 mana 1/1 stealth that gave all of your creatures +1 health. And because of the way layering works in the game, it made your stuff unkillable. Yeah, that and just like various burn cards are like the broken ones, like anything like 8 mana Pyroblast or anything that did direct damage. And it's just like by design of the game. It's like anything that gets you early game board control or burns them to death. What does it mean to set maximum mana to 20? Like the turn after I play him, I have access to 20 mana.
Rather than stopping at 10, you can go to 20.
It seems like an auto include to me. I don't know. It just seems really strong. It's like that's based on the metas I played where it's like so easy to drag the game out forever if you want. And then just like anything that went over the top saw play. It seems really good to me though.
Yeah. So out of the hero cards that they released, this one is arguably the best one. And you probably remember, I think Druid was always just this weird class that could do disgusting things at high mana cost, especially because they could ramp. This is in that same wheelhouse. This card can be absolutely disgusting. You also gain like the mana crystal when you play this. So technically you're playing this for 4 mana.
Makes sense. Yeah. He's busted.
I think this arguably might be one of the best or most viewed videos on my channel.
Of course it is. It's fucking Reynad. Why wouldn't it be?
Shout out to Reynad for doing this. If you did end up enjoying it, make sure you subscribe and make sure you go check out Reynad's new game, The Bazaar, when it comes out.